Okay, it's hot outside, it's August, you want to go fishing, you want to make sure you have the right baits. If I had to choose 4, these are the 4 that I'm going to go with, and I'll talk about why and what's going on with each one. Okay, without further ado, the first one is going to be a chatterbait. Now this is the time of year that I'm going to be switching from a bluegill pattern, because I love a bluegill pattern, you know, anything that's kind of green pumpkinish. This is the cover jumper, great for largemouth, caught a bunch of largemouth, caught some smallmouth on it recently as well. I'm going to be switching from the bluegill type patterns over to the shad patterns. That's what, you know, the bluegill are starting to slow down on their spawn pretty much throughout the whole country. Now up north, you might still be able to catch them good on the green pumpkin, but during August, we're talking about during that heat, for some reason they start switching over to that shad pattern. So that's where I'm gonna have, you know, either the 3/8 if I wanna keep it high above the grass. I'm gonna, a 1/2 ounce, I'm gonna keep it down a little bit more. If I wanna get it down a little bit further, I might go to the 3/4. But that chatterbait with the spunk shad on the back, spunk shad 4.5, frosted purple is my go-to color on the shad patterns. Love that, caught a zillion fish on it. I'm gonna be fishing that probably on 18-pound fluorocarbon. Sunline Sniper, you wanna make sure your fluorocarbon has some stretch. Sniper has that good stretch, lets the fish get it, and then you don't lose near as many fish on that. That's just a little tip on the chatterbait. Especially if you're up north catching some smallmouth, you have to have that stretch. You don't want a rod that's too stiff. Not a good combination. Get a little stretch in your line, get a little you know, slower rod. You want to be able to make a long cast if you're up north covering a lot of water. You know, a good casting reel like a 7 GS model, you're going to be able to make long casts and cover some water. This is what I suggest on the chatterbait. Love that. That's my number 1 choice for you to start off my top 4 August baits. Number 2, this is the time of year I love, all summer long, I love throwing big topwater baits. The Spro Walking Haint 125, it is a big bait. That's right, that's what I want. I'm gonna be drawing these fish up. I might be catching fish in 1 feet, 6 feet, or 12 feet of water with a big walking topwater bait. It's got the loud rattles. Whatever topwater bait, you wanna make sure it's got those loud rattles. This works amazing around grass. Later in the summer, any lakes that have grass, get on those grass lines early, throw that big walking topwater bait, chug it, get that thing walking side to side, making that loud rattle, and you will have some absolute explosions. Wherever that grass makes a point, always gonna be good. If you have an isolated patch of grass, fish all the way around it. If you have those areas where it's real heavy grass and then it's an opening in the grass, boom, that is really good to fish over top of that, especially early, or if you have some overcast or rainy conditions, that big topwater bait is gonna get absolutely trounced in August. That is one of my favorite ways to catch them in August. 50-pound Sunline braid, I'm using that AMZ, making really long casts with that 50-pound braid. You can stay away from them. Just a medium heavy casting rod, any kind of medium heavy rod. You don't want it too heavy, but you don't want it too light. You need to be able to kind of put some wood to them when you get that bite way out there from the long cast. But that's my number 2, is that big walking haint from Spro. Any big spook type bait is gonna get trounced as long as it has those characteristics. So number 3, I mean, you gotta go with the Dropshot, right? Yeah, Dropshot, MISSILEBAITS mini magic worm. I really like this time of year, August and into September. For whatever reason, pink is the color that I probably start with that time of year more than any other time. I like it in the winter time as well, but in that late summer, a lot of people are still throwing bluegill type colors, but remember I mentioned they're starting to get off that bluegill type color, get onto more of the shad stuff. The pink is a really good way to go. This Missile Morning is the color here, but I'm gonna take that little 4-inch worm, and I'm not going to be threading it on the nose like we've been doing all year. That's what most everybody's been doing. They've been throwing their drop shots, nose hooking it, putting it to where it runs, looks straight. I'm gonna be taking this bad boy, be taking a a Gamakatsu G-Finesse. This is a 1/0 hook, that G-Finesse split shot drop shot hook. And I'm gonna be hooking that bad boy right in the middle, harpooning it right in the middle. We're gonna call that wacky style. We're gonna put that mini magic worm wacky style on a drop shot. I got a tungsten sinker. 1/4 ounce sinkers, mostly what I use. If I'm fishing really deep, you know, like 20 to 40, I might go up to 3/8. But if I'm fishing 0 to 20, I'm probably gonna go with that 1/4 ounce. With that thing being wacky style, it's gonna slow the fall of the drop shot a little bit. So that's probably why I kind of bounce up to that 1/4 ounce. You might go down to a 3/16 if you're fishing less than 5 feet of water, or less than 8 feet of water, something like that. But that's typically what I go with. 8-pound Sunline Sniper is a good leader. You don't need to go super, super light. The worm is gonna have all the action that you need because it's gonna be rigged wacky style. Showing them something different later in the season, very important to getting bit behind other anglers. We're talking about lakes that get a lot of pressure, you know, Lake Oneida, Kentucky Lake, Lake Chickamauga. Yes, big old fish in Lake Chickamauga. I'm dropping down to a 4-inch bait, just like this pink bait right here, little mini magic worm, going wacky style. I'm gonna show it to fish that have seen baits all year, and you might be very, very surprised what'll bite that thing. Those big, I've caught some really big bass on that little 4-inch pink worm. Spotted bass cannot stand it. I'm telling you, they love it. So that's my number 3 August bait, is that little mini magic worm. Last but not least, this is a absolute sleeper right here. Absolute sleeper. A lot of what we're talking about, we're gonna talk also river systems and lakes, especially with grass here, is where this bait is really gonna come into play. And this is the poo-poo. I said poo-poo, that's right. Poo-poo style baits, the duty style baits. This is the MISSILEBAITS Bomba 3.5. Any of the baits in this category are gonna start shining this time of year. August and into September, you're gonna have that bait. This is a weedless Ned rig. That's exactly what this thing is. You're gonna be able to throw this out, let it sink down to the bottom, but the weedless portion is because the weight's distributed evenly throughout the little fat turd style body. That thing is gonna just kind of float down like old Mr. Hinky, and it's not gonna get hung in the grass. It's gonna kind of sit on top of the grass, and then when you pull it, it might turn that grass, and then it's gonna pop loose and then float back down. It does the same thing on rocks, riprap. You can throw this thing on riprap and let it sit there, and then just pick it up, and it'll kind of just pop off of the rocks and then float back down. Very, very weedless. I typically throw it on a bait caster with 14-pound Sunline shooter. That's what I really like it on. I've experimented with it. You can use a little bit lighter, you can use a little bit heavier. That's what I like to give that bait that free fall. One of the keys to fishing any of these style baits is to make sure you have the right hook. Gamakatsu has this worm 34R hydroil, and what that hook is it has a swivel built into the front of it. So as that bait's falling, you're gonna have that bait being a little bit more free, but you're also gonna be able to, you know, as that bait, it might spin on the way coming back in or anything, or on the way down, it's gonna not twist your line. And so rather than having a separate split ring, you just have it built in. It balances the bait really well, falls nice and even. That is a bad dude of a hook, and it is perfect. It's exactly what it was designed for. Japanese anglers have been fishing the turd style baits for, I don't know, 10 plus years. They took this bait called it was made by a company called Biwa. Interesting because it was a French company. They had this little bait called the Petite. That's really what started the whole poop style bait craze in Japan. And what they were doing was trying to rig a weedless Ned rig. And so they made this little fat Petite looking bait, and then all of the Japanese baits that have the turd style bodies, the thick, heavy, dense bodies, they are all kind of spawned off of that. And so really, that's why I like to tell people, this is a weedless Ned rig, works really good around shallow cover. You can skip it well, you can throw it a long ways, works in rivers, works in lakes, works in ponds. Very good for, you know, seasoned anglers, but also amateur anglers as well, because it doesn't get hung up hardly at all. But this is a sleeper, that Bomba 3.5. Fish that thing in August if you've got some shallow cover, especially that shallow grass, river systems, a little bit of current, anything like that. Just let that bad boy wash on down in the current along with the grass. That is gonna be a little bit of a sleeper, but that's my number 4 bait for hot, smoking hot August fishing. Hope those 4 baits help you catch some big bass. If you do, drop them down there in the comments. And also, if you have something else that maybe I left out, there's a lot of good baits in August. I know regular drop shot baits. You know, there's other baits that could work. Let's hear it. Drop it down there in the comments. We appreciate you guys watching and participating. And go out there in August and catch you a big old bass.